From Cleveland, Ohio to Montgomery, Alabama. From Corsicana, Texas to Billings, Montana. Let's ride. We want to ride shotgun with you for the next hour, talking trucking with Deaton and Doty. How's it going, Mike?
Good. What's up, guys?
Not too much. How's your week?
Pretty good. Staying busy.
So mine's not going too good. I think I have another trip I have to plan here to Roanoke, Virginia, from what I've heard today. On the line, we got Nikki Bassett from Montana. She's going to give us the results of the freight club wager between Christian, the Dawson fleet, and the Deaton fleet. What do you think of that, Christian?
I mean, I'm smiling, right? It was a nervous smile last week.
Yeah. I think it was relatively close, but that's my thoughts. But
oh yeah.
So Nikki, what do you think?
Well, I think it was a good run, definitely. It was close. And we looked at it, actually had Russ on the phone last night. We looked at it a couple different ways, and it's pretty neck and neck on that rate per mile, whether it be vans, reefers, all around. So I'm impressed.
Yeah. I will say, and first of all, it benefited all of our drivers, not just the Deaton fleet, but Dawson's fleet too. I will say, I did learn, Christian, your fleet does run a little different than ours. We do have a lot of guys that run a lot longer loads. Yeah. So I think that did help you a little bit, but fair and square. Yeah. Nikki, what do you think?
I think that you're buying a ticket down to Virginia. So enjoy your time there. They'll make you feel very welcome. They always do.
Give me gas money for that.
But I will give you.
Oh yeah, we'll welcome you with open arms.
The final numbers that.
Go ahead, Nikki.
Came out. The final numbers. We base this all on rate per mile. So, based on line haul, van versus van.
These are all dry vans.
So yep, all dry vans. Dawson fleet ended at $2.52 a mile, and the Deaton fleet ended at $2.32 a mile. So it was close.
I blame it all on Ray.
Good job,
he went
Ray.
home, he stayed home, and I needed him out there. Ray, I think you need to help me with this dinner.
Yeah, I got a GoFundMe account. I'll start up, and we can start collecting money to help you out with this dinner.
I think
Ray did pretty well for the month, to be honest with you.
No, I know. I'm just picking on him because I like to pick on Ray. But Nikki, I started getting RSVPs as soon as you sent the results to Christian and I. This morning his whole staff sent me RSVPs for the night. All of a sudden, my email was going crazy with all these RSVPs for dinner at, what was the restaurant, Christian?
Frankie Rowland's.
Yeah, and I looked that up, and
there's a pretty price tag behind it,
Yeah.
But it's gonna be the best steak you ever had. It'll be fine.
It's gonna be the most expensive one I've ever had too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. First time. Thanks.
Is that the place we went, Christian, when I was there?
Yeah, but you know what?
It's yes, actually, that is the place that we went to, Nikki, when you were down here. That is absolutely the place
very
we went to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well worth the trip down here. Regardless of the reason, Russ, it's almost worth the trip by itself.
Well, I'm not coming empty-handed, so Tina's gonna fly down with me. And then Ian and Zach are going to come down too. They want to meet your staff. They've worked with them in the past, but Zach's afraid to fly.
Yes.
Which I just can't wrap my head around that one. But so Ian's going to drive with him, and they're going to drive down and drive back. So it'll be the four of us coming. We'll get to hang out with your staff, and it'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I know. Chris wanted me to pass a message along about it's 20 cent per mile difference. So it's every 5 miles is give or take $1.
Yeah, keep rubbing it in.
Yeah, he just told me to add that. And they got a gift for you too. Can you see me, Russ?
Yeah.
B&D.
Oh no!
You can read it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
Nikki's on the phone, but he just unveiled a shirt that says "Beaten Deaton," Nikki. Oh, that's bad.
Oh my God, I love it.
Well,
yes, Nikki, this is a button down over the road.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, just so you know, Mike Doty and I today, after we found out the results, we've been we've been contemplating another bet, which I'll bring down with me. We haven't got it perfected yet, but like I told you in the past, Christian, Deaton's coming for you.
That's right. And I'll continue to look in my mirror. I'm not sure it's the rear view. I looked at the length of the haul too. So obviously our guys are spanning it and give a 500 to 700 mile radius, and you guys push out a lot further. So that had something to do with it. So we'll run a revenue per trucker and we'll redo this thing again. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we've got some ideas. We'll bring it with us when we
Good. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'll look over it over that expensive steak you'll be buying.
So what's going on, Mike? We got a pretty special guest on the show today. What do you think of that?
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I can't wait to have him on.
Yeah.
Talk to him.
Real quick before we get to that, he'll be on with us here shortly. How's the week been? How's the market been, Mike, Christian? What are you guys seeing this week?
Good, man. I put this that flatbed up there because he did really well. You know, flatbeds, we talked about it last week. Been climbing, and he did. I don't have a map for you this week because you know we got the special guest coming on, so we're going to spend a lot of time with him. But he did 7,700 on right at 2,000 miles, 2,100 miles. So yeah, flatbed's really starting to heat up.
That's great.
And you know, it was a couple simple loads, and actually it was only 2 loads. They were about 900 a piece, and then with his deadhead, it was about 2,100. So yeah, he's my only flatbed guy. So
Yeah.
So John, he's a great driver.
Yeah, Tom and I were talking about just the revenue, what we got going on this weekend. We were everybody. I think Nikki, we all talked about that. April was a little slow. I think we had people in the shop. We had people going home because everybody was pushing through winter, and the rates were still up. Usually we get that January, February lull, but we didn't have it, so people stayed on the road, except for Ray. No, I'm just kidding, Ray.
Man, give him a break.
I know. But yeah, so April we were a little down in total revenue, but Tom and I were talking about it today. I mean, it's really looking good to start the month of May, so yeah. I'm pretty excited. What are you seeing, Christian?
Same thing. So I pulled up some information from FreightWaves too on the van outbound tender rejection. And Nikki, I know we talked with FreightWaves and talked about Logan a couple months back. We did greenlight that a couple months ago. And so we look at a couple indicators, and this is one of them, the van outbound tender rejection. So it shows basically the change. It shows you the delta or the value of what changes, but it showed Alabama, Georgia, slight decrease in Colorado, Florida, and Alabama for rejections, which we can expect after last week's surge. But then there was an increase in rejections in Iowa, Illinois, and Tennessee, and Indiana, and Arkansas as well. So yeah, it's neat. Texas had an increase as far as rejections go, and that was still heated up. Somewhere in between there, Nebraska lightened up a little bit. So it's going to get interesting.
It's going to be a good month, I think, for all of us.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I mentioned earlier our special guest on the show. This week on the show, in the 2009 draft by the San Diego Chargers in a third-round 78th pick, the 2009 Sporting News NFL All-Rookie Team, First Team All-Pro 2013, Pro Bowl selection 2013, and Super Bowl 50 champion with the Denver Broncos. He played college football at Texas Tech at right guard, Louis Vasquez. Welcome, Louis.
Thank you for having me. How you guys doing?
That's great.
Great,
Glad
man.
to have you on. We really appreciate it. And Ray's here with
Hey,
us,
what's
too.
up,
He's
cuz?
on the phone.
Doing
Hey,
all
what's
right,
going on,
man.
Ray?
So for our viewers, Ray, everybody knows Ray. Louis is Ray's cousin. And so that's how I talked to Louis first a couple of years ago. And then, we asked him to come on, and he was glad to do it for us, so we appreciate it, Louis.
My pleasure.
And my wife said I was stalking you all week because I was trying to get everything right and get these stats down, but it was fun. So, Louis, for most of us, we're just football fans, and we've never experienced the kind of things you've experienced, coming up through football, and you're from Corsicana, Texas. getting a chance to play college football, going into the draft, winning a Super Bowl. Those things are something millions of us never get to experience. So we kind of wanted to see it through your eyes. How'd you start out? Where you let us know where you're from. I said it, Corsicana, Texas, but what's it like there?
So Corsicana, Texas, to kind of give you a geographical picture where we're at, we're about 50 miles south of Dallas and the same distance east of Waco. So we're nestled right off of I-45 and 31, for those of you that know Texas. Small town, we're maybe 24,000 people, maybe 25 by now. But, one high school there, and that was really about it. Our biggest claim to fame before, I guess, me was Collins Street Bakery, and they're world known for fruitcakes, oddly enough. So growing up, man, I was a typical Mexican kid. My parents worked their whole lives. My dad's worked in a factory. My mom, she worked for Kmart before they went under, and then now she's been with HEB for years, and she'll probably die working for the company. Growing up, my parents ended up divorcing at an early age. And so there was a lot of emotions that I never knew how to deal with. And I got introduced to football at about age 7. And that being said, bouncing around with my dad, we didn't have a lot of money. So football was my outlet. And at first, I wasn't really sure about football just because it took a little bit to grasp it. But once I grasped it, I, took a hold of it, and football really gave me a chance to let out those emotions and make a lot of friends that, I would have never otherwise made.
Yeah. What positions did you play, Louis, when you were first starting out in football?
Left tackle, and I actually played left tackle all throughout my grade school career up until I got to college. I was left tackle, and then when I got to Texas Tech, I was left guard.
Gotcha.
Growing up, football was a passion of mine, and I grew up watching the Cowboys in the dynasty days. Larry Allen
was that your team? Well, I was wondering that was your team. Okay.
Larry Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my team. And, they were winning Super Bowls, and Larry Allen was my guy. I mean, still to this day, I watch some of the stuff Larry Allen did, and it's just unbelievable to see a man that size, as big as he was. And not a lot of people know it if you haven't really watched him, but the dude was fast. There was a lot of times I would see him run down interceptions, and he's running down cornerbacks, which a big lineman is not supposed to do.
Three Pro Bowlers on that line.
Yeah,
Joel is he's our almanac of the NFL in our office.
I don't know about all that. But Louis, at what point did you know that you were going to play football past high school?
I was kind of getting into that before I got my first scholarship offer. I knew my dream was to play pro ball for the Cowboys, but I knew at an early age that was almost an impossibility. It's just coming from where I'm coming from. And, I always tell this to my kids, on paper, I wasn't supposed to make it. I was a chubby, poor Mexican kid. And, playing pro ball was the last thing I was ever going to be capable of doing. So playing college ball, I didn't even have the inclination that I was going to go do that. As I got into varsity level football, the coaches obviously saw something in me, and it got to a point where I guess I got burned out on football, and I was going between boxing and football. And I actually ended up quitting one day in high school ball, and my coaches hounded me and were like, dude, this is not what you want to do. You have something going for you. Kind of gave me that whole spiel, and I ended up coming back, a day or so later. And am I glad I did, because it ended up turning out well for me. I'm gonna plug in my computer before it dies real quick.
Sure. So did you? How long did you box?
Box Golden Gloves for 4 years. My Ray knows my twin uncles. I had twin uncles, and they were boxers at the time. They were in the Golden Gloves, and they got me into it. But it was, like I said, it was just me and my dad, and I had to go to Dallas, actually East Dallas and Garland, to a boxing gym, and it got to a point where my dad just couldn't afford it. So
I think he froze or.
there he is. Football was always there, so
yeah.
So at the end of my junior year in high school, I got a call from Coach Mallory, which was Les Miles' right-hand man when he was at the University of Oklahoma State. And they offered me my first scholarship offer right after my junior season. And I come home and I told my dad, because it took me by left field. I was like, no way. And my dad was like, well, where do we sign? Come on, let's go. Where do we sign? And I was like, I have no clue. I don't know what, how this process works or anything. So I went back to my coaches, and my coach was like, don't do anything. Just wait. You're going to have lots more of these come your way. And I was like, I don't know. You know what you're talking about. That was my mentality, just because this was so far out of left field that it took me by legitimate surprise. So
yeah,
sure enough, later on, I started getting more and more scholarship offers coming in. And, I was growing up in school, I was always labeled as gifted and talented. So I was pretty smart, book smart when it came to schoolwork. So I actually started getting offers from Stanford, Harvard, Columbia, a couple Ivy League schools. And I was like, whoa, that was coming from where I'm coming from. Like, you just don't get offered from schools like that.
Yeah.
But I knew those weren't the powerhouse schools as far as it came to football. Played through my senior year, and I started getting a lot more. All the Big 12, except for Oklahoma, offered me. A lot of the Big 10, Miami, a lot of these schools. And then when Les Miles left Oklahoma State and went to LSU, he offered me a scholarship offer, even though at that point I had already verbally committed to Texas Tech. Les Miles really wanted me. But through this process, I always knew I wanted to stay in football and play football in Texas. But as I was going through the process, I did a couple one-day camps at University of Texas, because that's where I wanted to go play. I did a one-day camp, and I was, the headlineman there. I was beating all the other ones. And I had one of their assistant coaches come up to me afterwards. He said, son, if D1 ball isn't for you, I have a nice D3 school I can, get you into. I can get you all the scholarship or the financial aid you can get. You don't have to worry about it. And I go home, and it didn't hit me when he told me that at first. I'm like,
what?
Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
You know what? To hell with y'all. I'm no longer coming back. At that point, UT was. I had a vendetta against UT. I said, I'm gonna come back wherever I go, and I'm gonna kick your ass. And Texas A&M, for whatever reason, just never got my attention, and I didn't really care for some of my coaches and teachers that were from A&M. Just they were just a little different. So Texas Tech was there, and Texas Tech was up and coming. They were on the radar. They were always, on the bottom of the top 25, knocking on the door to make a name for themselves.
Who was the quarterback when you went to Texas Tech?
When I first got there, it was Cody Hodges.
Okay.
And then Graham Harrell took over after him.
Okay.
But Texas Tech was 6 hours away from Corsicana.
Right.
LSU was 3 hours away. So my dilemma was, do I go to LSU and play closer to home, or do I stay in the state of Texas like I wanted to, but I'm further away from home? I ended up choosing Texas Tech, obviously. And when I took that visit, the players and the coaches, I really took a good liking to them. And there was another Hispanic on the team, Manny Ramirez, which I still consider my brother. And we ended up playing with each other again in Denver.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I was like, you know what? I want to be a part of something big. I want to be a part of something and help this program make a national name for themselves. And
So can I ask you you mentioned Manny Ramirez. Isn't he from the same area in Texas or close to where you grew up? Of course.
no, he's actually from South Houston.
Oh, okay. So not too far away.
Yeah, about 3 hours or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys know each
So
other?
when those offers started rolling in, is that when you thought NFL was a possibility?
Oh, when those offers started rolling in, I was like, well, shit, I might, get to be able to play some college ball while I'm getting my education. That was my only thought process. Like, other than that, I was like, the only other college I'd be able to go to was the community college there in Corsicana, Navarro Junior College. And even then, that was kind of a long shot because I knew my parents probably weren't going to be able to afford it. So yeah, pro ball was still the far on my radar. I wasn't even thinking about it then. Get into college.
On that note, I wanted to ask you: did you and Manny Ramirez know each other or ever play each other in high school?
Never.
It was just too far apart.
Yeah, Manny was
he was older than
maybe
you.
3 years older than me.
Yeah.
2 years older than me. Yeah. Each other until we were on the same team. So I'm going through my college career, my thought process with football, I wanted to be the best at what I did, whether it was a drill and team drills or whatever. I was determined to be the best at whatever I was doing. And fast forward to my junior year, I started getting pro scouts started coming out. And I was like, who the hell are they here for? And then a couple of the coaches were like, they're here to watch you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, damn, is this a possibility? So I really started turning it on because even though I knew there was a slim chance, I was like, hell, I'm going to try to do everything I can to make that a true reality for myself. So I really started, locking it down and focusing on, becoming the best player I could be. Sure. And then my senior year, I actually had to overcome some hurdles. So my senior year, Coach Leach didn't believe in injuries, didn't believe, we hurt. So opening drive of my senior year, it was probably 5 plays in. We run zone. Our running back gets tackled on the back of my left ankle. Well, I got up and I was like, wait a second, that doesn't feel right. But it didn't hurt. So I finished out the drive, but my ankle felt loose, like it was kind of just dangling. I'm like, that's not supposed to feel like that. So I get to the sideline. They take my tape off, and they're like, yeah, there's definitely something going on here. So I'm like, I'm not going to come out of this game. This is my senior year. So they shot it up, taped it up, braced it, and went back out, finished the game. Well, afterwards, my ankle swelled up like a balloon. MRI showed that I had a high ankle sprain, a low ankle sprain, and sprained my Achilles tendon. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This can't be happening right now. At this point, Leach was calling me and our left tackle, which he was coming back from a broken ankle from the Gator Bowl earlier that year, called us prima donnas. And my trainers actually had to step in my defense, like, Coach, this is a legitimate injury. This is 4 to 6 weeks minimum. I missed 2 weeks. I wasn't supposed to be back on the playing field, but Leach was adamant that if he doesn't play these next couple games, he's not going to play at all for the rest of the year. So I had to bite the bullet. I had to go out there. And even my dad, he was like, we played SMU was one of the first games back after missing 2 weeks. He goes, you're not all the way healthy, are you? I said, not one bit. I said, I'm probably about 60% max. Because I can tell you're not playing like yourself. You're hobbling around. I'm like, well, this is kind of what I got to put up with because, the head man is, saying this, that, and other. If I don't come back and play now, he's not going to let me play the rest of the year. So, I eventually end up getting healthy later in the year. And one of my best games was when UT was #1 in the country, and we played them in Lubbock. They came into town after we just beat Oklahoma State. They were #5 in the country. UT comes rolling in our house.
That's a huge rivalry in for Texas Tech too.
Absolutely, yeah. That last time Texas Tech beat UT was 95, I believe. No, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I think it was 95, something like that. And so I was like, this is my chance to get back at UT for doing to me what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And we go out there and we played our asses off. And I don't know if y'all remember that game, but it was a huge game. And we ended up winning. They almost came back when our fans stormed the field.
The Michael Crabtree
catch. Yep.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. And then, so that game alone got me drafted. I'll tell you a little more about that here in a little bit. But, at that point, Leach was pretty arrogant, and he didn't change his game plan for the past 3 weeks. We had a bye week after we beat UT, and then we had to go into Norman, which Leach used to be a coach under Coach Bob Stoops. So even then, he still didn't change the game plan. Going into his old boss's place, as soon as we go in there, that stadium was rocking, and they were calling out everything we were doing. Everything we were doing, they called out to a T. They knew exactly what we were doing. They knew our game plan. It's like, well, what did Leach expect? He's going into his old boss's house. He knew him.
3 weeks of the same game plan, yeah.
Yeah. And so, needless to say, we got our asses kicked that game. It was like 63-12 or something like that. We got demolished. But anyways, we finished out the season and we ended up going to the Cotton Bowl and we lost to Ole Miss. And then I got invited to the Combine. So I was training for the Combine and we get up there and I had communication with the Steelers, the Browns, the Eagles, the Raiders, and the Bears. Those are the only teams that I had communication with.
So what do you mean? They called you? You were talking to them, or they were there watching you?
Yeah, at the Combine, after we're done with like field work and stuff like that in the evenings, they would call you in for meetings, like one-on-one meetings up to the room.
Okay.
Actually, the Bears was one of my scarier moments in theirs. They had the whole room set up like an interrogation room. They had a microphone set up in front of me. They had a big bright light here. They had, the camera right there with the microphone. Like I was like, what the hell am I getting into? And, there were some college stories that they had heard, scuffles out and about, typical college stuff. I'm like, who the hell they've been talking to? I really felt like I was getting interrogated by the FBI. Mm-hmm. So I left there and I was like, there's no way in hell I'm getting drafted by the Bears. Like that interview went terrible. I was, damn near pissing my pants.
So I just got to ask you, you mentioned the Browns called you, and I was thinking back, 2009, was that Eric Mangini that was the coach then? Was that who you talked to?
I want to say so.
I think it was.
So. Yes, it was. Yeah. He was the coach there. So fast forward to draft day. The first day back then, the first day was first and second rounds. And I knew it was, kind of a long shot that I would go the first day just because of the type of system I played in and whatnot. And, my dad threw me a party and everybody got pretty hammered. And my dad was one of the first ones down. It was really hammered. Wake up Saturday morning, I drag myself out of bed, and my dad's already in front of the TV watching draft like he's a kid watching Saturday morning cartoons. Bushy tail watching the draft. And I'm like, dude, how are you up? So I'm sitting there, and I just happened to look down to who's on the clock, and it happened to be the Chargers. Didn't think nothing of it. I had no communication with them. My phone rings. Look down, 858 number. Who the hell is this? I'm not going to answer it. I don't answer numbers I don't know. I'm sitting there watching it ring, and then it dawns on me. This might be the call I'm looking for. So I answer it. I almost didn't, but I answered it, and thankfully I did. And it was A.J. Smith, the general manager of the Chargers, telling me that he was the 78th pick, to draft me in the third round. And my dad's in my ear. Who is it? I'm like, I can't hear, Dad. So I had to go to the room. Finished talking to them. They're like, all right, in 2 days, you need to get on the plane. You're going to be out here for OTAs and rookie minicamp, that whole nine. And I come out of the room, I just tell everybody, I said, we're going to San Diego. And, everybody's hooping, hollering, cooked a big breakfast, started barbecuing the rest of that day. But at the same time, I couldn't really eat too much because I'm like, well, damn, this is such a quick turnaround. 2 days later, I'm about to have to get on the plane and go and start to practice. So I was pretty nervous and anxious. So I couldn't really eat too much because I was kind of worried about what I'm about to get into. I'm like, this is big boy league now.
So, Louis, let me back you up for 1 second because I'm really curious. So before you got that phone call, and you said you had no idea it was San Diego. They never called you before. Was there any other teams running through your head that were at that point in the draft you were in that you could possibly end up at?
Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Philly. Because at that point, those were the only 3 teams that really kept in contact with me pretty hard. Coach Castillo was the offensive line coach at the Eagles. I can't remember. I think it was Warder. Coach Warder was the O-line coach for the Browns. I can't remember for the life of me the coach for the Steelers. But oddly enough, as soon as the Chargers drafted me, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and the Eagles all traded down.
Yeah.
My agent was like, that is a telltale sign that
they were coming for you.
Trading down because their pick just got taken.
Yeah.
So he goes, if San Diego didn't take you, you were going to one of those 3 teams for sure. I was like, well, I would much rather be in San Diego city-wise than Cleveland, Pittsburgh, or Philly.
Oh, yeah. We just had snow here a couple of weeks ago, Louis. So, and you probably lucked out because these last 19 years in football in Cleveland were pretty rough, but we're coming out of it now.
Yeah, Baker's doing a hell of a job up there for y'all.
He's doing great.
Yeah.
So when the draft, so you went to San Diego. What was that like? You showed up. You're the rookie. Did you have to carry people's stuff?
Whatever.
So I had really great vets. The biggest hurdle I had to overcome was moving from the left side to the right side because from the center to the left side, they're already locked down. They were all pro players: Nick Hardwick, the center; Chris Dillman, left guard; Marcus McNeil, left tackle. All pro, first team all pro players. So that there was no chance I was going to even touch the field on the left side. But they released their right guard there, and they brought in a 9-year vet from Jacksonville, Keenan Forney. So that's who they plugged in initially. But now after, talking to my coach, he was like, we brought you in to replace Mike Goff is who the guy they released. And, they were like, we had to bring in an older guy for some, leadership, but I ended up beating a 9-year vet out and started as a rookie.
So you started that your rookie season.
Yeah, sure did.
I read something, Louis, that you played 101 out of 102 games. Yeah. I read that somewhere. That's remarkable, especially in the trenches where you take a beating every play,
Yeah. And the only game I missed was due to a groin injury. And Kubiak, it was my last and final year. Kubiak really likes to take care of his players. So I think we were playing San Diego or something like that for the second time. So they were going nowhere. So we ended up plugging in Max Garcia to let my groin rest. That way I was ready for the rest of the season to make this playoff push.
Yeah.
So, that was,
that was the only game you missed.
That was the only game I missed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Louis, what were some of your favorite away venues to play at?
When I was in San Diego, Denver was a fun one. Pittsburgh was really fun. Pittsburgh has an electric atmosphere. I still love it. If I wasn't going to say Denver, it would probably be Pittsburgh. Yeah. Granted, I didn't play at every stadium throughout my career, which is kind of odd, but if I had to pick another one other than Denver, it had to be Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh was, the terrible towel, just that whole atmosphere, man. You feel the history of their ball program and, all throughout the years. It was a pretty electrifying place to play in.
Yeah. Do you remember playing in Cleveland?
Yeah, it was one of the coldest damn games I ever played in, right there on Lake Erie. I remember guys' hair were freezing.
Yeah.
It was so damn cold. Yeah, it was not a fun place to play in, and we always managed to play there deep in the season, late in the season, in December, right when it starts to get real cold.
I want to go back to San Diego, but I have to say that Nikki Bissett, when we talked a few years ago, Louis, not about football, you did talk to Nikki Bissett from Montana. She's on the phone with me. When Denver played Cleveland the year before, not last year, the year before, I flew out there and met Nikki. She's a huge Broncos fan. And since the Elway days, the drive and the fumble, I've, always been opposed. But so that was my first time at the Broncos Stadium and seeing that game. And of course, Cleveland lost. But we had a great time out there, and it was a really cool stadium. I liked it. The one end we were sitting at, you could see the mountains, and it was pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a ball stadium, as far as compared to like Dallas's new stadium, that big screen and the stuff they got, it takes away from the game because you're just looking up the entire time.
Yeah.
Even my wife, when she was at Denver, she was like, I love y'all stadium in Denver because you're there for a ball game. You're there, you're watching the action, and she goes in Dallas, you just watch this big screen the entire time. It takes away from live action on the field. So I've always taken appreciation for our stadium. Plus, we had a true home field advantage playing in altitude.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask that when you first went there, did you notice a big difference? Makes a big difference. The altitude.
Hell yeah. The first 2 weeks, I couldn't drink enough water. And then as we got into team workouts for like the first 2, maybe 3 months, I couldn't adjust. Just with the warm up alone, I was huffing and puffing like I was running wind sprints the entire time. What the hell? It's different up here, but finally adjusted. And my first year there, we had 4 offensive speeds. We had regular huddle, we had muddle huddle, we had no huddle, and most teams, that's about it. And then we had Top Gun. Yeah, then we had Top Gun. They called the value menu. So, it would be Biggie or Smalls would be our strength. Biggie was to the right because me and Orlando were the bigger linemen. Small was left side. So, he would call the strength out. He'd go Biggie 1, or they were named after older quarterbacks. Biggie Tarkenton. Most of us didn't know who the hell Tarkenton was. So they had to give us our offensive coordinator had to give us like a little history of, the old quarterback, and why they named him this, such, whatever. But literally, our game speed with this, we implemented it against the St. Louis Rams in the preseason. As soon as that ball left Peyton's hands, he was calling another play. And I'm talking about it was that quick. That ball was gone. Biggie 2. I'm like, God damn. We ran 67 plays in one half. Wow. Most NFL teams average 65 plays an entire game. We ran that in a half. The coaches were like, they're tired, keep going. We're like, we're tired too. Come on, we need to breathe.
Was that John Fox?
Yeah, John Fox. Yeah. I really enjoyed playing under him. He was a true players coach, got along with him very well. And, he let his coaches do the coaching. I never really heard him raise his voice or anything, but you knew when he was pissed because all of our coaches were getting pissed at us. So we knew, that old saying, shit rolls downhill.
Yeah.
So that, we knew when the headman was pissed.
Yeah. Joel and I were talking earlier about Mike Leach, and we were both kind of curious how unhinged or off the hook he could be when you played for him.
I've seen YouTube.
So, Leach, when I was there, he was a huge drinker, big drinker. He was always out, and a lot of times come Sunday, we come back in for team lifts and meetings. The defense lifted at 12, we lifted at 1, and then team meetings always started at about 2:15. So, his right-hand man would come in almost every week. All right, guys, come back at 3:00. Like, why the hell is this meeting getting pushed back further and further? Sometimes we wouldn't start till 5. Well, come to find out, Leach is still past that at home. So that a lot of times some of the coaches would have to drive to his house, pick him up, bring him to our facility. And then some of his team meetings, he would go on and on and on about anything else other than football. You know, he got on this spiel about being a pirate and swinging a sword and his the roller skating. You know, it was just so bizarre. And you would look over at some of the coaches, and some of the coaches would be passed out in meetings.
Yeah.
Well, if they're not listening, why the hell are we listening?
Wow.
But it was entertaining to just see this guy talk about swinging his sword and tickling his wife with a sword. And I'm like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? It's not about ball. Like,
did he come to Corsicana to recruit you?
He did. He did. And that was a weird experience as well, because he would say something, but it wasn't. And he didn't ask a question. He would just make a statement. But the way he said it as if he was going to follow up with something else, and he wouldn't. So we were kind of just like, "Where's the rest?" But that would be it. Like, this guy's different. All right, whatever. But yeah, it was a very interesting college career to play under Leach.
Yeah. One thing, and we really want to hear, and I know you got to get somewhere, but we really want to hear about the rise to the Super Bowl championship in 2015 season. But I was fascinated, and I wondered if this record still holds. It was at your pro day, or that you bench press 200 and what was it, 250 pounds?
So 39 reps, right?
39 times.
The combine?
Yeah, so it actually got beat like 2 years after me. There's a couple guys that got 40, 45. But, you know, I remember that day. We're getting ready to bench, and a couple guys before, like they were after me, were warming up with lightweight. Well, the way I was training was you warm up with lightweight, and then before you go up there, you put on some heavyweight. That way, when you get under weight that's lighter than that, it feels really light.
Yeah.
So I think I threw 315 on the bar, and I repped it out for like 8 or 10 reps. I got used to that. And then I had to rush up to the stage, and I watched the guy do his last 2 reps. He got off, and then I had to go up. So I didn't have really adequate reps like I wanted to. But I was like, well, this shit is showtime. I gotta get done. So I repped out 30 in a row. Then I paused. I'm like, all right, here's where the real work comes in. And I got those last 9, and I was really wanting to hit 40. And as soon as I got off, I got 40th one halfway up. He took it. I was pissed at some of those younger guys. I mean, man, y'all should have got the hell out of the way and let me get mine in.
Yeah. That's really cool, though. It's a good story.
Yeah. That's, it is what it is. You know, can't, not too mad about it, I guess.
Yeah. So, take us through that 2015 season with the Denver Broncos and playing with Peyton. I heard he was always pretty fun to work with, just from stuff I've read, with playing pranks on people, and he's fascinating on his Nationwide commercials. I crack up every time I see him on TV.
Yeah, so he's a big jokester. One year, he always has that quarterback camp, and he brings out his receivers to get extra work with them, to work on timing and relationship with the receivers over at Duke. So the one year, Eric Decker didn't go out there, and I think Decker had something else to attend. And Peyton got a hold of an official NFL letterhead paper. I don't know where the hell he got it. I mean, that's Peyton being Peyton. He has access to stuff like that. It looked like a legitimate fine letter from the NFL fining him like $5,000 for not attending, and then room and board, flight. Like, I think it ended up being totaled like $13,000 and some change. And Peyton put in an official FedEx, little envelope, and anytime a guy gets flagged and we know it's going to be a fine, we're like, that's a FedEx, because the NFL is quick to send you a FedEx letter. You got fined. So, Decker comes over here and he's like, what the hell is this? So Peyton let him sweat it out for a couple of days before he finally hey, man,
That's great.
I'm just messing with you. It's not real. But Peyton was always kind of pulling jokes like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed working with Peyton. Just the way his brain works. And don't get me wrong, Phillip Rivers, he's a true professional too, but just the way those two guys' brains work, they were very different. Peyton was very surgical with everything he did. I'm talking about from his cadence to his play calling. There would be times where we would run a play, a couple times in training camp, and then we would never run it again. But then it would be week 10, and Peyton would call that play from training camp that wasn't even in the game plan. He'd call it and expect us to remember what the hell it was. And somebody along the line somewhere was like, oh, yeah, we ran it like this. And we're like, how the hell do you remember that? But, and it would be the perfect play for that defense. And that's how intricate and how detailed his mind worked.
Yeah.
He was very much a perfectionist. If you didn't do something right, he was going to let you know, like, hey, you screwed up.
Yeah.
You screwed up.
Jumping off sides.
Yeah.
Wasn't Carolina 14-2 or 15-1 that season in 2015 when you guys beat them?
Yeah. So there were, the whole talk was they're a juggernaut. Can they be stopped?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I knew our defense. Our defense, stout. We had the number one defense in the league. You had DeMarcus Ware, you had Von Miller, then in the middle you had Malik Jackson, Derek Wolfe, our linebackers, Danny Trevathan, our safeties, TJ Ward, Mike Adams. Then corners, lockdown corners, Aqib Talib and Chris Harris. Like, dude, where are you going to go? Which way do you slide the line? And we would sit back as offensive line and watch these other teams get in passing situations. We were like, damn, we kind of felt bad for them. But at the same time, we didn't, because we knew, they were just about to get crushed. Because literally, which way do you slide the line? Do you slide it to Vaughn? Now you got to deal with DeMarcus Ware over here. Or do you slide it to DeMarcus? Now you got Vaughn over here. And it's not like our inside guys were jokes. I mean, our inside guys were damn good ball players too. So
you got to line up against them in practice every day.
Every day, sure did.
Did that make you? Do you think that having work with? Do you think having that great defense that year helped you guys when you went? You practice with them every day, and then you went against different defenses from other teams. Did that help you?
Absolutely. You're going against the number one defense in the league on a daily basis, and everybody else was, not them. So it really helped us.
Yeah.
And Wade Phillips was good at disguising a lot of his blitzes and stuff like that. So that really helped prepare us for other teams that would try to mimic what he was trying to do, but just were not near as good.
Yeah. So entering the playoffs into that season, what was in your mind? Like, what did you guys think did you think that, hey, we can take this deep, we can go all the way? What was your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, at that time, Peyton was kind of coming back from an injury. Brock came in and played, and we were like, man, we had to lean on the defense a lot just because we weren't the high-powered offense we were in 2013. 2013, we're the number one offense in NFL history still to this day. So we knew we didn't have that anymore. Peyton, his arm wasn't there, but Peyton knew that, and in knowing that, he knew when and where to get the ball sooner because he knew his arm strength was lacking. So that always helped. He's like an offensive coordinator that could throw the ball. And then, we're missing a lot of other pieces. Our tight ends weren't near as great as, 2 years prior, stuff like that. So we really had to lean on the defense. But Kubiak was very adamant on running the ball. So, obviously, coming under Shanahan, running the zone scheme was our thing. But, we knew that there was a lot of points that we had to give our defense a breather. And, we try to pound the rock as much as we could.
Stay on the field, yeah.
Yeah, stay on the field.
So what was it like, man, going to the Super Bowl?
We learned 2 years prior when we went up to New York and got our asses kicked by Seattle.
Right.
Yeah.
2 Super Bowls.
We learned a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
From coming there and then going here to play Carolina that, now we're strictly about business. Yeah, we had a good time when the time was right, time and place for everything. But other than that, we were strictly about business. We came for one reason only, and that was to win the damn championship.
Yeah.
I think, it showed on the field. On top of that, Vaughn had a personal vendetta against Cam Newton. Story. They were both, they're both in the same draft class, and both obviously very elite players in the NFL at that time. They went to an event together, and when Cam Newton transferred from Florida to Blinn before he went to Auburn, Vaughn had a lot of his friends play at Blinn. So he went up to Cam Newton and said, "Hey, man, I've been watching you. You're a hell of a player, blah, blah." So Vaughn was like, "Are you kidding me? I was coming over here to give you some praise and see if you knew some of my boys, and you're just going to big league me and walk away?" He goes, "At that point, whenever I get the chance, I'm going to act the ass on him." His words verbatim. And sure as hell, in true form, Vaughn went out there and, he played his ass. He played lights out. And there's a reason he got MVP. And I was so damn happy that he did that because Cam Newton.
Cam had a lot of grass stains on his uniform that game I saw.
Very much
Those are the only stains.
Yeah.
And I was so damn happy just to see him get put in the ground so many damn times. And, you all saw how he reacted post-game.
After the game.
Yeah. And I actually took a couple of pictures I sent to my son, Matthew, who does the video production. And you'll see him when you see this interview. But the one picture I picked out was Cam laying on his stomach on the turf. And I was going to ask you how you like that one, Louie, because I watched the play. And it was just great. And but on that note, there was a play in that Super Bowl, the last touchdown. And I texted this to you and Ray the other day because I went back and rewatched Super Bowl 50 sped up. They take the commercials out, and it was pretty cool. And then I did find an article in the Denver paper about the touchdown that C.J. Anderson scored. That was the game-winning touchdown, essentially. And he was stood up at the goal line and I don't know who they were on the Panthers, but he was stood up and he wasn't going anywhere. And then you see number 65 running around behind him and blasted all three, your guy and the other two defenders, into the end zone for the touchdown. That was a really cool play.
So, real quick, I remember that play like yesterday.
I bet.
The coaches said that they would never do an out charge on the goal line because they had never shown it.
Yeah.
Well, it was a play where I would pull around and lead block around the other guard right up the middle to score. Well, as soon as I pull around, the D lineman did an out charge. So the whole middle opened up, and then their backers just plugged that middle.
Yeah.
I heard a hit because I ended up hitting one of the D linemen because, again, they caught us by surprise. And I knew if we scored, this would be the nail in the coffin. Well, I hear the hit, and Kuechly hit C.J. Anderson right in the mouth. And I turn and I look, I'm like, oh, hell no. And I was glad that David didn't go to the ground yet. So I ran. I was like, you know what? I'm going to hit C.J. I'm going to hit him just to make sure we get in the end zone. So I sure as hell, I went full head of steam. And I was like, I wasn't worried about hitting the defenders. I was going to hit C to hit him in the end zone.
Yeah.
I hit him, and we all fall down. And I look over at where the ball was, and I see where it was. It crossed the goal line. I threw my hand up. Yeah. I knew it just scored. There was no question about it. Game over.
Cool. That was really cool. Yeah. That stood out to me when I watched it, and I was glad to see number 65 running around there making it happen. That was great. So, and I know I don't want to hold you up, Louie. I know you're a busy guy, and I want to get to what your life after football, what you're doing. And we want to, put that on our social media pages and get it out there. So what's going on with the Prime Wellness and Fitness?
Yeah. So, before my wife, she had a project, and it was going to be a franchise dedicated more towards families, mothers and children. Well, long story short, the pandemic screwed that up. So we had to figure out what we were going to do. We knew we had to pivot because we're stuck in this lease. So we were like, what are we passionate about? we're passionate about fitness, health, and overall well-being, because now it's about longevity and quality of life, especially I got 2 little boys. So we came up with this concept. We have here in Prime Wellness and Performance, we have a whole med spa of services. We added IV therapy because I'm a huge component on IV therapy. I benefited from it when I was training, but you don't just have to be a professional athlete. Everybody from every walk of life can benefit from IV therapy. And there's a whole laundry list of things you can get. We have different IV drips from anything from helping weight loss, just hydration, your hungover, immune boosting, to even helping traumatic brain injuries. And I could talk all day about that, but I just don't have that time. If you want more information, check out our website, Prime Wellness.
We're going to put that up on our show too. When it airs on Friday, it'll be up there.
Okay. Yeah. And we have a little cafe area. We're part of a restaurant group in Austin that their model is all organic food, locally sourced from organic farms around the Central South Texas region. So they're helping out the local farmers here. And since they're organic, needless to say that the shelf life isn't very long, but at least you're getting good quality, nutritious food that doesn't have a lot of preservatives or fillers. And then we have 3 different fitness areas. And I also have a turfed in area where I do my football training from kids of all ages to college guys and pros. I'll have a few of my former professional teammates here this summer that I'll be working with and training as well. We have a couple shelves with supplements that we use as well. We have a couple of rehab tools, a percussion gun, wireless stim units, CBD products. CBD is huge right now. I benefited from it from when I was playing and still continue to benefit from today. So everything we have here, we believe in because we use on a daily basis. We're not going to sell anything just to sell something. Mm-hmm. We actually use it ourselves on a daily basis. So, that's kind of what, started this whole deal. And if the pandemic didn't show anybody anything else, it showed the world how unhealthy we are as humans, especially here in America, how unhealthy we are. So we really want to help our community out and eventually, hopefully, franchise this thing out to show people, really educate them on how to live a fulfilling, healthy life. And you don't have to train like a professional athlete to look and feel good. There's other ways of training. So that's what our philosophy is, what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and if you noticed, Louis, the picture behind Mike Doty, that's the exterior of your place. I sent that to Mike today. He was looking at the pictures that Ray sent him, and he didn't even tell me he was going to do that. But Mike's pretty crafty and witty like that, so he did. And so to everybody that's watching, that is the outside of the place. It's in San Antonio, Texas. Tina and I were on the website, and it was pretty cool. I like what you're doing down there. I wish you the best. We're going to support it on our show. We're going to support it on our social media. And I got to tell you though, so we don't know each other that well. I have talked to you a few years ago, but I don't know if Ray mentioned it to you. I was an honorary member to the Nieto family reunion in South Padre Island, nice. And I got to meet all of your family, and nice. We had a great time. Tina and I went. Another friend that's real close with Ray and I, Mark Chavez. We all met down there, spent 4 or 5 days together, and yeah. So I definitely talked to them. We have a little group chat with Ray and his wife and Vicky and Letty, which I gave her a nickname Lefty because I thought they were saying Lefty.
She loves you for that.
Yeah, and your primo, I guess that would be your primo too, right? Is that right, Ray?
Yeah, Jesse Adolfo.
Jesse.
Yeah, that's his cousin too.
Yeah, so great people. They treated me like family, and I'll be going to the next one definitely. Tina and I will probably always be there. I think we have a picture, Louis, of Tina and I and your family all holding up the Nieto family reunion sign on South Padre Island. So we'll probably put this up on the show too. But awesome. I just had to mention that.
So good deal. That makes me feel good. Good.
Yeah. Well, Louie, I know you got to go. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. It means a lot to drivers going down the road when they download this podcast and they can listen to something that none of us will ever experience. And we really appreciate your story. And you're welcome. Be a friend of the show anytime you want to come on, and maybe we can talk a little smack about football this fall. You can come on and we can talk about them Browns.
See what it's like lining up against the Legion of
Absolutely.
Boom.
Yeah.
That sounds good, guys.
All right. Thank you, Louie.
Thank you. It was good to meet you.
All right.
So-
thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
Louis, thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah.
My pleasure, cuz.
All right.
Go Browns.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
So a couple things before we go, guys. I just want to be sure to remind everybody about the fishing contest. If you haven't sent pictures in for the fishing contest, we've got quite a few, but send them in to Zach. And Mike, Christian, Joel, you guys got anything? That was a fascinating story, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Go check out Prime. I just thought about that at the end there, or while he was on, I was going through your text. I remember you sent him to me. You said Ray had sent him, so I figured once he started talking, I'd throw that up behind me. So it was.
I forgot he played in 48 against the Legion of Boom.
Oh, in what?
Super Bowl 48.
Oh yeah, they played in New York City.
Yeah, when they snapped the ball over his head.
The first play of the game.
I forgot to ask
yeah,
him about that.
I knew about that, but they lost bad in that game.
Yeah, it probably.
Yeah.
It was a bigger game now. So
Nikki's still with us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that Super Bowl. But I will tell you the one they won was great for me because that's when I lived in North Carolina. So
Oh,
I
wow.
lived in North Carolina while my Broncos beat the Panthers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was sweet.
Well, Nikki, what'd you think? That was really cool having Louie on, huh?
Very cool. It's great to hear a story like that
Yeah.
from a kid that comes up like that and makes it. It's very cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, Nikki, Christian, Mike, Joel, everybody else in here that's doing all the hard work behind the scenes and not on the camera. Thanks. That was an awesome episode. A couple shout outs before we get out of here. Thanks to Truckworx. Ray is picking up his truck actually this week. I think tomorrow or the next day. And Monday. Okay. And shout out to Over the Road Apparel. Work clothes for the modern day trucker. Prime Wellness and Performance in San Antonio, Texas. That's Louie's place we just talked about. And be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Also, by the way, Kumar gave us some news that we're getting a pretty good following going in India. So we wanted to let everybody that's listening and downloading our show on Spotify or the other two platforms I think we're on, thank you. And I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah,
and hello.
Up,
With
Indy?
that, go Browns, go Indians, and go Cavaliers.
Stay tuned next week for Tom Brady.
Yeah.